major difference between high school and college is the nature of the relationship between students and their teachers. In this video, successful college students tell us that they had to learn how to communicate with professors.
Communicating with the professor is really important. It can have really positive effects and it can have some negative effects.
One of the negative consequences that can result from not communicating well with professors is not getting a clear understanding of the assignments and the expectations they have in the class. And I mean, I have few experiences when I first started going to college and I wouldn't understand an assignment for a paper. And I was embarrassed to ask the professor. I didn't understand the assignment at all, and I got a lesser grade than if I just would have spoken to the professor and said, okay, that's what the assignment was about. So I think it's really important to communicate.
The first day of class, first couple days, for me, it's about me and the professor, not anyone else in the classroom, because that professor actually has power. He's deciding or she is deciding what's going on. So it's important for me to establish as much communication as possible.
One of the things I remember too, when I first started college, was how intimidating I thought professors were. And I think that was probably the most difficult thing for me when dealing with communicating with professors. A really important experience that I had when I first started college was realizing that the students that were succeeding and were doing well were those that were talking to the professor a lot, getting to know them more inside of class and during office hours. And I think that those were the students that perhaps their parents had gone to college, or their parents were teachers or educators or professors, so they were able to just see these professors as people, whereas I had this illusion of the professors being really unapproachable and on another level, very elite, and I was really intimidated by them. And I think it was because my parents were immigrants and I didn't have anyone in my family who had gone through the U.S. education system, so the professors were kind of somewhat, they were people that I feared.
I remember when I first started, I don't remember having all those preconceived ideas, but I do remember feeling alone and very scared. Mm-hmm. And I believe that got in the way of how I communicated. My first year, I was a lousy freshman, because I felt scared, like the professors or the institution itself didn't care about me. So I was pretty quiet, and it takes the engagement to get the ball rolling. Yeah. It takes the communication, and it took me to step up, to reach out and try to communicate and seek things out. Because up until then, I didn't know what I was doing, what was going on. It's just like a cog going through the motions.
Yeah, and I think it helps realizing that there's other students who are, having the same shared experience as you, because when you realize you're not alone and you can get together with other students who are also feeling the same way, you can kind of help each other and give support to each other, and talking to the professors or getting through the experience of your first or second year of college together as a group.
You know what I learned as far as a communication tool was the office hours. That to get to know the teacher at the very beginning, when I was going through the syllabus, to point out something that was confusing or whatnot, and use the office hours to go and talk to the professor. But what it really was like an introduction. Mm-hmm. So I'd go in there with the syllabus with a very specific question, just to get the feel of the professor. I remember doing that with one particular professor who I thought really had something to offer, Although I didn't know what it was, I felt like it was important for some reason to get to know this person, to let this person know who I was. I remember using the office hours with the syllabus to ask a specific question, just to get the feel.
It is such a valuable resource, and I really wish that I just picked it up earlier, because I think it would have made the first 2 years of college for me a lot easier, and it would have answered a lot of questions that I had and not made it so confusing.
Now, these same college students talk about some specific strategies that they use to improve the chances of things working out the way they want when they're communicating with professors. They're offering these tips so that new students, like you, will have an easier time making the transition to the university.
One of the things that's really important to understand is that as a student you have rights, and you have a right to your education and to understand the material in your own way, even if the teacher isn't presenting it in a matter that you understand right away. You have a right to understand that material. That's what you're paying for, and that's why you're there, to learn. So part of what office hours are about is being able to develop an understanding with your professor and go over things that you may not have understood in class or in the reading in a way that you can understand, and you have that right as a student.
It's important for you to learn how to pick your spots to communicate to the professor.
Figure out when is a good time to raise your hand and ask questions.
If you feel comfortable after class or before class or during their office hours.
I know asking questions on the first day or as a freshman is extremely hard, but you want to be engaged. It's your education. Remember, the office hours are your time. Learn how to use office hours.
You usually want to go in with a very specific question.
And that can be a variety of things. Anything from a question that I might have that developed during the reading, or a question about the assignment, or just to talk to them about some ideas, about some projects that I may be doing with another class, getting to know them informally. It also could be a very specific question, like asking for an extension with an assignment or a paper that might be coming up.
Because remember that you're not the only student who needs to use the office hours, but you must use them. They're yours.
Another really great tool that office hours provide students is the opportunity to build a relationship with a professor in another way than just professor-student relations in a classroom setting. You can use professors as advisors or even mentors.
They can direct you to other professors, either in the department or somewhere else at the university, to say, go talk to this person. I believe that you're interested in the same thing.
And that means maybe later down in your undergraduate degree, if you're thinking about extending your education to go to graduate school, or you want to apply for jobs later on and you may need letters of recommendation, you can go back and ask those professors that you've gotten to know and that have gotten to know you in a better way.
So use that. Use the office hours to find out, to help narrow down what your interests are. I know as freshmen it's difficult, but the sooner you get on board with what you think you might be interested in studying, what you think you might want as a career, potentially graduate school, the professor and their office hours is a great starting place to start building those relationships of knowledge.